Muraho, welcome back to ZaNiproduction YouTube channel. My name is Charles, your host, and we are back again for another amazing live. Thank you for watching. Um, as you join, you know what to do. Say hello. Today is definitely a special chat. Really, it is a very special chat. You may have seen the poster. My guest today moved from Europe to Africa. We usually see the movement the way around, mostly. However, there are young men and women who are going back to the continent, and that's quite amazing. Yeah, so as you join, say hello. You know what to do. If you first time, let me know where you are joining us from. Let me know how the sound is. I see that we are live on YouTube as well and on Facebook. Um, Essentially, a few years ago, I was planning to go back to Rwanda after 24 years. And such a long time when you've not been in a country that you last saw when you were 16. And at that time, I was looking for information about my country, something more positive from the eyes of someone that I can connect to. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. I do have confirmation that the sound is good. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching, Kenny. We missed you yesterday. So I was looking for information about Rwanda, about where I'm from. Last time I was there, I was 16 years old. I came across this YouTube channel. Theo is back. If you have not subscribed to that, please do. So I saw this amazing young man talking about Rwanda, where he was also from, in a way that was authentic, was from the heart, and it was informative. Um, and later on, he became a friend, and we also share a passion in building companies in Rwanda. He has inspired me to find that love for my country. This young man is outspoken. He is handsome, and sorry, he's not single. um, let's welcome him and have this amazing chat. Hello, Theo.
Yes, hello, ZaNiproduction, hello, Charles.
Hey, look, Chigali Fit. This
Yes, I see. Stay fit.
this live. This is your creation. I should have put this sponsorship message. This live has been brought to you by Chigali Fit.
Yeah,
It's nice to talk to you. How are you?
I'm good, man. Just hanging in there, man. Hanging in there with COVID.
With COVID, no doubt. So how was the release for, was it 21 days in the in the lockdown? I know you are very passionate about, since we went in the lockdown. So how was the release, the freedom? I think you went to bed quite early, like what, 8?
Yeah. I guess it's one of those things. It's tough when you're in it, but once you're past it, you're like, okay, it's past me. It's don't think too much about it. But it was, yeah. I mean, it was tough, but I think the first lockdown was tougher. So yeah, it has its pros and cons, I would say. But hey, I think it's gotta happen, right, with this whole COVID thing worldwide.
Yeah, because I do remember when we went in the first lockdown last year, you made this very touching video talking about how you felt. I haven't seen anything subsequent to that. You still feel the same concerns you felt at that time?
Well, yeah, not really, because everything, of course, has changed. When you feel something at the beginning, it has to do, yeah, with the information that you have. But now that there's more information, you have more samples, you have more examples from around the world. So yeah, the sentiment kind of changes, I would say.
Absolutely. Now, so look, I have lots of questions for you there.
Okay.
um, now, for those who don't know, um, Theo, and we're gonna dive into the journey that took you to coming back to Rwanda. Who is Theo? Um,
Who is Theo? Those deep and philosophical questions, I guess. Um, Theo, I'm Theo. I'm Rwandan. I was born in Rwanda, but I moved to Europe when I was about 10. That's where I grew up, and I studied, and I got my first, work and made my first money. And then about 20 years later, I moved to Rwanda to start a business, a gym, Kigali Fit, the shirt that you are wearing, and I also do YouTube as Theo is back. Yeah, so in a nutshell, that would be me, I guess.
Absolutely. That's a nice, very summary of things. Now, let's try to dive into one of those, each one of those. Theo as a Rwandan, Theo as a as the founder of Kigali Fit, Theo as a YouTuber, and that's how I connected with you.
Mhm.
Now I'm interested, Theo, as a Rwandan. Like me, you left when you were young. I guess you were about 10 years old or about six. Sorry,
Now,
when you left Rwanda.
when I left Rwanda, I was 6.
Okay. And so you lived in many other countries before you moved to you moved to Europe. Where in Europe did you move to?
Where in Europe I moved to? Sorry, I think the connection
Yes, yes,
got
yeah.
stuck there.
So where were you for the
Oh, in
last?
Europe, yeah, I moved. Yeah, so I moved in Europe. I moved to the Netherlands actually, and yeah, we never left actually. Yeah, so I moved to the Netherlands, 1999.
Mhm.
Yeah, stayed there until 2019.
Now, take me back. All of this, we are trying to build a story of who is Theo. Because for us in the diaspora, um, we definitely have an interesting story to share, I believe, Rwandan. And you do even touch that up in one of your recent video, which I'm going to roll at some point.
Yes.
Now, do you have any recollection of Rwanda, let's say, from when you were born until when you left at 6 years old? What was Rwanda like for you? Um, if you do have any recollection at 6 years old or 5 and so on.
Yeah, I have very little recollection. Well, actually, I have quite a lot, but it's kind of scattered. So when later on, when I grow up, I had to make like an exercise to understand that this was in Rwanda, this was not in Rwanda. But the most recollection that I have of Rwanda was, yeah, we used to live in Kigali with my parents, and I believe one uncle from my mother's side. Yeah, so we never really went far. We just were like in the gate, in the compound, or right in front of the gate, to the neighbors. So
Mhm.
that was like my life. If you would ask me to take you back where we lived, I would not know. But I think if I was in that gate, I would remember it. But other than that, it's just that those kind of like scattered memories of I remember our neighbors, and I remember some uncles, but not much.
Now, when you returned to Rwanda, did you try to go find your home? Did you did you try to go and find it and and got lost like
No,
I did?
no, I didn't because I didn't. Like I said, I didn't. Like I remember the gate was blue, and that's
Mm,
it. There was like a row, but there was just so little memories. There's nothing that really pulled me back to go there. And as you can imagine, so yeah, we left in April 1994. It was like a month before my 6th birthday, so I was
mm.
technically still like 5. So it's yeah, it's just the basics. Just the basics. You remember your mom, you remember your dad, you remember your even my mukozi. I remember, but uh, the location, the neighborhood, it didn't. I don't remember it.
So umukozi, you mean the house helper.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
so the gate is blue. So then, does that mean all the time when you were, I guess for the 20 years, were you dreaming about Rwanda at any point? Like me, I will have some kind of recollection. I don't know if you witnessed the genocide against the Tutsi as well. Is that something that when you were in Europe, did you have any flashbacks, any like dreams about that blue gate?
No, to be honest, my memories of Rwanda were, like I said, they were very scattered and very small. So a lot of things were happening. I remember like when we were moving. I
Hmm.
remember when we were like in a car. We were a family of six in total. So we are four boys. So we're all four of us were like sitting on the back seat, and we were driving very fast. And I think now looking back at it, because I remember it was very tall. I know it was Kisuchiro, and I remember the road now. Now that I'm there, I can see. Okay, this was probably the place. But there's not much that I can say that really bring. I think maybe you are older, so you had some more tangible memories. You knew what was going on. As a 6-year-old, to me, to be honest, it was like one big adventure. I mean, like we were moving here, going there, and then nothing was like fixed. And I kind of liked it, to be honest, because it's like there was like no routine. Every day was like a surprise. But like I said, later on you figure it out, and then you realize like, okay, no, that was not a vacation. That was not like for fun. But yeah, we were just moving around, but I did not know where and how. Or all I remember is those small things of houses inside of a car. That's about it, I think.
Okay. Now, so in the Netherlands, hello, Delis. I see she's there. Thank you for joining us in the chat. Um, in the Netherlands, so where you were, did you only live in one country in Europe, or did you move around?
So I lived in one country in the Netherlands, but within the Netherlands, I like moved like 7 times or something, because when you're getting rescheduled and but ironically, like from those 7 times, it was 6 of them was like in the same city, was in the capital city where we kind of like settled down. So yeah, that's why I consider the Netherlands as my home base because I know it so well. Like when you grow up in that age is when you get to know the world, and then I was pretty good. I was really well familiar with the Netherlands and with Amsterdam in particular.
So how would you say was the life of, in this case, a Rwandan in the Netherlands with your parents? Did you maintain the culture? Did they speak? Did they talk to you in Rwanda? Did they tell you about your home? Because in my case, my parents died before 1994, so I didn't have any direct connection to my culture anymore. How about you and with your family? Because I think you are how many boys?
Yeah, we
You
are four. We are so yeah, we are four boys, and so what happened is when we moved to the Netherlands, we moved like in stages. So first was my mom and my two youngest brothers. They went there like in August, and then like 4 months later, me and my brother and my father, we came to the Netherlands and we reunited. But because before we had come there, um, mm, like my mother first had lived in a French-speaking country with my little brother, so we were like separated for 2 years, I believe. So when we came to the Netherlands, my brothers had lived for 2 years in a French-speaking country, and they're already like speaking French ish, me and my brother were speaking English. So when we came there, it became kind of like a weird conundrum where my father would talk English, Kinyarwanda to us, but when he talked to my little brothers, it would be French, Kinyarwanda, and vice versa with my mom. So they kind of like decided to just speak one language so that we can all hear it, which looking back at it now 20 years later was like a blessing in disguise because they spoke Kinyarwanda to us. All four of us grew up understanding Kinyarwanda, and it was very specific because we would like talk in the local language. So first it was like English or Dutch, whatever. But as soon as we had to address our parents, it went directly into Kinyarwanda. So we could be at the table and we could be like, can you pass the salt? If I ask my brother, but if I would ask my mother, Mama Munyo, it's like just switch automatically. And it would so like I said, 20 years later, and now I realized it was like a blessing, because this way we were able to kind of keep the culture. We were able to maintain like basic of the language. And as soon as we started meeting other Rwandan parents also,
Yeah.
who also speaking Rwandan to us, it kind of like helped. It really helped to kind of stay close to your culture, and for me it helped to keep me feeling very Rwandan, because I could accept that I'm Dutch out of the door, but as soon as I came inside the door, I knew I was Rwandan.
I think that is one of the amazing skill we picked up when we grow up with parents and we speak so many multiple languages. Just that ability to just switch to make out things
Yeah,
like you are dealing with that, the conundrum and so on. I just want to
yeah.
recognize, say hello some people in the chat that are saying hello to us. There is Joseph, I think you've met him, who is following us. There is this Kenny from Karunji, and I guess you know her,
Really?
Delis.
Yes. I love you.
And there is Alexis as well. He said that he met you. Now I'm just gonna roll a clip because now I just wanna dive into why you moved into Rwanda. I mean, I know why. There is just you have this nice video you did where you say it is called 8 Reasons Why I Moved. I just want to roll something among those 8 reasons. One of my favorite one, and then we'll come back to it. This is me trying to switch to my screens. And let's see, work. Let me know how that goes. Goes. You look the sound.
Yeah, can people hear it? Because I'm not hearing anything.
You can't hear anything?
Yeah, but I'm okay. I know the clip. I'm just wondering if the people can hear it.
I believe they can confirm. Hello, Joyce. Can you hear? I think they can hear. Usually, they will tell me quickly.
Okay.
It seems that now.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you go live, I like to be brave. My president is black. You can always write. They said no sound, unfortunately. sometimes it plays a trick on me, but essentially you were saying that you were happy to be in a place where your president is black, your money is black, everyone is around you looks like you, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that's one of the main reasons as to why you moved? Sorry, the sound didn't play. To be around people who
Well,
look like you?
to be honest, it was like I said in the video. It was not my main reason when why I moved, but it quickly became one of the best reasons to be in Rwanda, or at least to stay in Rwanda, because like you don't know what you're missing until you experience it, right? So me growing up in a white country, in a predominantly in a mostly white in a white country, I had never experienced how it is to have like a black president, for example. So therefore, things as like institutional racism cannot happen when when your skin tone is the common thing, is the majority or something. I don't know how to say it, but so it was it was like a nice surprise once I came to Rwanda, realizing like, oh my God, living in a black country as a black person is actually quite nice.
Now, before you moved to Rwanda, I think you first went for a visit. Your first visit to Rwanda. Now, I would like to just go back to that moment when you said, I'm going to go visit Rwanda. Because of the complexity of the history in our country, there is a young gentleman, for example, who was in Zambia and then he went to Rwanda for the first time. And he was saying in an interview, he did that going back for him, it was very hard because he was scared. When you went to visit after many years, did you have any concerns? Do you have any fears? Give or take. About that first trip that you made, what was going
So
through?
can you can you repeat that? Can you repeat the question again? You kind of froze in the middle of it.
Right. So what I'm saying is, going back when you went for your first trip to Rwanda,
Mm-hmm.
a visit, because of the complexity we have, and I'm saying this because there are many young women and men in the diaspora who still don't feel that they should go, because when they grow up, they hear different stories about Rwanda that will make them scared about their life, or let's say anything. So I gave you an example of this young man who said that he was at that time in Zambia, and he decided to go back to Rwanda. But he was saying that on the plane he was like really scared. He was like shaking. So take us back. How was it for you? Because really, honestly, for me too, going back, I didn't know how it's gonna be, because once we've been here for so long, some of the fake news that we hear makes us a bit nervous when it shouldn't be. How was it for you?
So I went to visit Rwanda for the first time when I was 21.
Mm-hmm.
It was in a time where I was just I was like a newly adult. I was working, and when I was 18, I decided to go on a vacation in the summer with my own
Mm-hmm.
money. And then when I was 19, I did the same thing. When I was 20, I did the same thing. And then I started realizing, like, how come I'm traveling to these other countries, but I cannot go to Rwanda? So I was just truly like curious, like why not travel to Rwanda? So the way I got there was kind of a bit crazy, because the way you travel when you're like in those years, you kind of travel with a group. So I made an appointment with, we kind of made a plan with the group to go to Rwanda. But just let me say, long story short, when it came to it, nobody could actually go to Rwanda. People had valid or non-valid reason not to go. But at the end of the day, I was just left there by myself with money in my pocket because I had saved, but no one to go with. But luckily, I think my mom was doing some kind of work in microcredit financing of vulnerable women in Africa, and I think Rwanda was one of those countries. So she said, like, well, if you go, I can join you, you know. So I went there, and then like 2 days later, she came. So just to answer your question, no, I was not afraid, no, what's or not, because um, yeah, like I did not. I think maybe the difference between you and I, like I said, is that I don't think like your generation really understands how much my generation does not know about Rwanda. Like you're a kid, you don't know shit. If you don't go looking for it, it does not come to you. That was my experience in growing up, and I was just living my life in Amsterdam, you know, doing all teenage stuff, doing my job, blah, blah, blah. I had limited Rwandan friends, and we were all just busy making money, finding girls to hit on, going to parties. So by the time I decided to go to Rwanda, I was like, why not? The biggest thing I had was just a plane, you know, money and people to go with. Those are like my two criteria that I needed, because that's all I needed to go to Spain or to go to Turkey. So when I lost the persons to go with, I was like, I was bummed out. But once I found my mother to come with me, at least, you know, because it was the first time I did not know anyone. It's like, okay, that would be good, you know. Um, so I honestly just came there with like an open mind, because I did not have any information about Rwanda back then. YouTube, I think, it was barely starting. You know, people did not Google everything. So I did not know much. I was a bit ignorant in a way. Yes, I knew, of course, about the past and the history, what had happened. But yeah, like I said, growing up, I never really felt connected to that past, because I was a baby. It felt as if I was like reading the Holocaust, you know, the Holocaust that happened in Germany. I was like, okay, this is terribly bad, da 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 da, but it's still kind of like separate from me, because I was not there. I was not, you know, able to do anything about it. So yeah, I just went there with like a very open mind, and to be honest, I loved it, and I was really happy that my mom actually came with me, because you know, you come and you be like, you know, you would be at family, and some people would come visit the family, and then my mom would step into the room and like, oh, by the way, that's your cousin. We're like, huh? You know, like, so it was like a wonderful experience to be there, and just to see an abundance of extended family. And like the family that I got to see was just like a very tiny bit, but it made me feel kind of like happy to have met this tiny family. It was like my first non-party vacation, but it was like one of the best, because I get touched down. I get to, you know, do the Rwandan thing, and that's when I kind of realized, like, you know, it's kind of special actually, um, to be in Rwanda, on vacation. It was like special. It was different from all the other countries. It was different from the typical countries I went to, like Cyprus, like I said, or UK, or France, or Spain. It was special because it was unique. It was thought provoking. It was helping with, like, you know, with your identity. Like, for example, normally if you go to on vacation, you spend a lot of money, and back in the days, we came back hangover basically. You went on a vacation and needed like another week to recover from that vacation. But I went on this vacation, and I came back like richer in knowledge, and I was like richer in my Chinyarwanda, because I had learned new stuff. And this Chinyarwanda was something that, I don't know, it kind of like felt so good to have a deepened knowledge of it. So yeah, my first trip was like only 2 weeks, but it was amazing. I left the country thinking like, okay, I'm gonna come back next year. I'm gonna come back next year. You know, it didn't happen, but it that's you know, I don't know how to explain it. It's like going to a club and then really loving the club so much you were like almost ready to buy the ticket for the next party.
So let's try to essentially address the elephant in the room, so to speak. Like me, when I left, of course, I was way older than you, 16 years old. So there's a lot of history, mind you. I was not born in Rwanda. However, like the young gentleman was as young as you, if not young, about 4 or so years old. His knowledge of Rwanda
Mhm.
came from his surroundings, the people around him, family, friends. And this is a known fact that some of the younger people like you who left as babies or sort of younger than me, they are sometimes forbidden or they are raised to fear of their own homeland. You know what I'm talking about. And it sounds like for you, you didn't have that similar
Yes.
surrounding, or you didn't hear. So therefore, what would you tell someone in the diaspora of Rwandan descent who, for a reason or another, has not made, you know, even like come and see? Um,
Yeah. So like it is something that now I'm 32, right? And
mm,
I feel like now I'm actually becoming an adult now because I'm starting to put things into perspective. One of the main reasons why I did not fear Rwanda or did not have those kind of things, it's actually quite simple. Is that my parents never talked about the genocide. Like it was never conversation. We never sat down. We never sat down and they tell us to explain. Oh, we came from this and this happened, and that conversation never happened. Like it was not like a taboo section. It was not like we're not allowed to talk about it. It did not come from them, and we did not also just have the curiosity to talk about it. I mean, at least I didn't. And second, I'm kind of like an adventurous, stubborn person, and when I want to do something, I want to do something, and you cannot just stop me by just saying you can't go. So if someone would have told me like, don't go to Rwanda, I'm like, okay, tell me the reasons. And I later realized, talking to older people like you, or even older people like my parents, is that they all have a different recollection of what happened in Rwanda, because they all had a different hurt. Like you lost your parents, and others lost their siblings along the way, and others, they actually made it intact. They just went, bought a ticket, and landed in a new country, and papers were there, and things were smooth. Um, Others, like I said, they had trauma. Others lost and never found her. So every time when I talk to someone, every parent gave me basically their version of what happened. So it was like hard to take one person's truth. If someone says like Rwanda is bad, I kind of feel like, okay, to you Rwanda is bad, and other people like, oh, Rwanda is the motherland, I need to be there. So yeah, to you it is the motherland, you need to be there. So it was, yeah, it was like conflicting, and I've seen it now. Like I said, now that I'm 32, I've seen it in my people of my age. Some parents were in this mode of like, no, 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 Rwanda is the hell. I'll never go back. I forbid you, my son, my daughter, to ever go back. Others were like, please, 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 learn the culture, learn the language. Rwanda is your home. Do something with it. So it is scattered. I don't blame the people of my generation, at least, who are fearful of going to Rwanda. All I can say to them is that know that if you are like fearful, or if you are optimistic about Rwanda, it has more to do with how you were raised than actually you yourself. Because if you're so afraid of Rwanda, but you've never stepped foot in Rwanda, you must ask yourself, like, where does this fear really come from? If you don't have any recollection of the genocide, if you don't, it means all the horror story pain that you are experiencing, they have been passed on. Like, don't get me wrong, if you lose your parents, that's like a hurt to you.
mhm.
But it's different than when you are running and someone is wanting to kill you, for example, than when your parent is running and they want to kill them. So it
Yeah.
is, yeah, it is. That's what I would say. It's just like I said, just know that you are raised by traumatized parents. That's what I want to say, and take that into consideration. However you want. I just happened to be in that mode where, like I said, I was not tainted. Like, our parents did not push a corner like Rwanda's good or Rwanda's bad. They were just like quiet about it, and we just were living our lives. And by the time I wanted to go to Rwanda, like I said, when I was like 2021, that's when I started to talk to my parents about Rwanda. But I know other people who talked to their parents when they were like 10 or 15, and they were asking all these questions like, what is this? I'm seeing this on the internet. What the CNN has made this thing. What does this mean? I never went through that phase. I was not that interested into hearing the story of Rwanda until I was like 20, until I wanted to go on vacation to Rwanda, actually.
So this type of yeah, sort of a topic, it is good to discuss it. By the way, for full disclosure, my parents did not die during the genocide; they died way ahead.
Mhm.
Now, now that you are in Rwanda, and we're going to talk about Kigali Fit, you left the life of security and comfort, job security, future, and I think you even talked about it, and you went back to home. Now, two
Mhm.
years into it, and in this case, we've had the pandemic. Would you say honestly that you've made the right decisions? I mean, I have not seen you running back to Europe. I am still waiting. So, would you say, because there is really no social structure for someone yet, in terms of, if you can find employment, then you have employment insurance. So you left all that stuff that you knew for 20 years. Now here you are, and we know the history, and that's, I was trying to kind of establish that context. Now, the practicality of your move.
Mm.
Now with the pandemic, how do you feel? Just tell us about that. I know it's sort of a multi-layered question.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, well, like I said, it's like I always find this question like particular because people when people ask me, many people ask me that like, is it? Do you feel like you did the right choice? Are you moving to Rwanda like for good? I mean, people are always looking for these certainties, as if like if I look at you, you're asking me that question, but I wonder if you have asked that question to yourself, like, hey, am I am I going to be staying in this country or am I forever? Am I happy with the decision that I made to be doing the job? It's I I I I can say yes, but in my mind, I say yes because I know it is yes for now. The day that I wake up and I feel like my life is really fucked up here, like I will not stay here if I was unhappy. That's just one thing that I would say. Um, the chase is like it's it's of happiness basically. That's the aim. You want to be happy, and happy is not measured by how long somewhere is or how short you are. It's just measured by your state of being and your outlook of life. So when I'm here in Rwanda, I feel happy and have a very positive outlook of me, the coming year, the foreseeable years ahead. And yeah, so then there is a pandemic, and then there is the lack of a social structure. Like we don't get universal basic income here, like people in Canada do. But then again, I walk around here and I'm like, yeah, at least I'm in the sun. At least I'm still under a black president. Um, I'm still healthy, even though I don't have a lot of money here. Life of the cost of living is so cheap here that yeah, yeah. Basically, I could like for me to like for me to ever get hungry here in Rwanda is almost near impossible because like the level is so low that yeah I have enough skills in my capacity to make a living for at least to survive. So I don't have any shortcomings when I'm here in in Rwanda. So yeah, for the foreseeable future, and looking back, I'm happy and I don't see any reason to move. But that does not mean that even if after 5 years something happens, or after 20 years I change my mind, or after 30 or 40 years when I'm like 60 and I'm like, okay, you know what, it's been good. Now I want to go explore Asia. I hope that the world is still free and open to go. But no, for now I'm happy where I'm at, and
You
I'm
are.
good. Yeah,
I think the
yeah.
reason why I asked that question, to give you the context, is we were born Rwandan
Mhm.
and we moved away for so many years. I mean, 20 years in one place, you cannot just suddenly overnight change that part. I mean, you still sound Dutch to me when you speak with the accent. You sound Dutch to me, let's say. So, that being said, once we've had And that's the challenge, the diaspora that we who have made this move, we need to talk about. So once you've been in the West, once you've seen the West, now can you
Yeah.
go back to being Rwandan again full time? Is that something that can ever happen? Um, that's what I'm trying to get at. Like in connection, let's say, to having Rwandan citizenship, and you did make a video about it. When I was watching that video, so could there be a point where I would honestly give up my Canadian passport and really embrace that side of me fully and wholly?
Yeah, well, it's possible. I mean, it would depend. Like I said, it would depend on what you want in life. You know, some people have. I talk to a lot of African Americans, and they have been living in the big promised land of America, but their life, has not been that great. So you can imagine if someone lives there for 30 years in America, and then they decide, like, you know what, I have seen enough of this. I want to move to Africa and basically just burn my bridges and don't want to be tempted to go back. Yeah, so they can move and give up their nationality there or their citizenship there to go to Africa. I think you can. It's just a matter of, will you do it? The practical. We all have this kind of like fear, and that's the thing I think I've learned the most from Europe. In Europe and in the West, in Canada, I'm sure the same. Or in America or in Japan, all these countries that have developed so far ahead, there's so much stuff. There's so much like things that we associate with like security, because you always have a good internet connection, because the metros always come on time, because there's always job. You feel like, oh my god, if I lose any of these securities, I'm gonna die or something, or I'm not gonna survive. But it's really not that. When you This is what people who travel the world have realized, that you don't need much to live a life, to be happy. You might be sitting in your apartment making good money, having your car, and thinking this is the life, but you'll be surprised when you move to another continent, like how much you can do without a car, or how much you can do without like a 4-bedroom apartment and overseeing Toronto or something. um, so the thing is, you can. It's just a matter of like, are you able to deal with your fears that you have surrounding that thing? And also, you have to also to acknowledge is that it's easier for me to make this jump when I did it at age 30 than it is for you, for example, at age I would not say your government age, but but the older you are, the more it's more difficult to move. But that's why when I talk to these African Americans, who are like in their 40s, 50s, 60s, I applaud them, because I know it's not easy when you've lived for so long. You have such a history in certain things. You have certain way of thinking. You also have a lot more to lose. Like I moved here without a family, without a mortgage, without a car. Like it was like it was it was just all mental for me, to be honest. But yeah, imagine having a spouse. Imagine if I was married to a Dutch girl and she's like, okay, Theo, I love you, but I cannot see myself living in Rwanda. That's not for me. But I want to be in Rwanda. Then it becomes difficult. And all of a sudden, my move would mean also a divorce, and it would mean also. So, yeah, it's different. It's different. But I feel like if I had moved at a later age, I think also when you're older, you also have more knowledge. So there are also more things that you enjoy, because you you also know a lot. So yeah, it's both ways.
Yes, absolutely. I definitely see the points, especially now. There seem to be an appetite from the brothers and sisters in the US who wants to move to the continent. Whether that's gonna be something that is gonna be a fade, I'm not sure. Now, one of the reasons why you moved, it was to start your cross gym, and you founded the Kigali Fit, and
Yeah.
the pandemic happened. Yeah, tell us about that. So, what do you see now in terms of um, your the next step into your life with the gym now closed in Dream? And I know that's been really hard. I remember when they had a glimpse of reopening the gym and then they closed again. Um, and I know the CrossFit was one of your passion. Tell us about that as well. Um,
Yeah, it's been tough, to be honest. Also, just to realize in the country that I'm in right now, I've
mhm.
realized the gym sector is not of really high priority. But like I said, I understand it on the other hand because Rwanda, there's a lot of things going on in Rwanda. There are people who are barely getting food before COVID. Now COVID has hit, they're getting no food. So imagine if you have to deal with those kind of stuff. So I can imagine that gym here is in a way kind of a natural product. I hate to admit it, but it is, it is in a way when you're dealing with people who don't have food, and then the other thing is people who to help people lose weight for eating too much. It's kind of it's a weird conundrum. Um, but nevertheless, yeah, it does hit on you because, like I said, I just started my gym. It was so COVID hit in March, and April was actually my official 1 year anniversary at the gym. So we've been in business for like 11 months. We celebrated the 1 year anniversary online. Um, but what can you do? So the thing is, I've learned to I've learned the power of government. So when the government decides something, basically, you as a business owner, you cannot go around it. This is my first time ever really encountering the full force of government. So because you start thinking of ways to be creative to go around it and everything, but the government also not only just give you the practical know-hows or the rules and regulation, but also government sets out kind of like your projection. So for example, we did some like outdoor workouts, but then they were like halted, for example, and then it kind of puts like a damper on you realizing like, okay, shit, that's not doable. So how I have realized how I'm dealing with this pandemic and the gym wise is basically just lay low, do some stuff. I do a lot of online, make enough money basically just to survive, because I here in Rwanda, thriving as a gym, at least in my experience, during COVID it has not it has been tough. It has been undoable for me, and from what I'm seeing from other colleagues as well, also have gyms in Kigali, it has been undoable. So yeah, but that's pandemic for you, right? No one could have expected this. I'm sure there are many other companies also who are like brick and mortar who needed foot traffic, like malls. They can also not go around government. They can also move, and some businesses are able to go online. Here, the online infrastructure is not that great. I mean, not we have 3G and 4G here and there, but Wi-Fi is far and few. So yeah, my lesson here is just like lay low, try to make enough money to survive, to be able to pay these lights, and then just pray that this pandemic will be over soon.
Yes, that is true because I am also in travel and we are seeing some of the challenges. So, Theo, as we wrap up, I just have two questions for you. What do you like the most about Rwanda? That if someone wants to come and visit, or anyone in the diaspora, what have you in the past 2 or 3 years that you have been there now, compared to Europe? What do you like the most? What is the one thing that you say, oh, other than the sun? I know you do like that sun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess my view is a bit, yeah, mixed, I would say, because I have the view of a of a Rwandan. I have the view of a diaspora Rwandan, but I also have the view of a tourist here and there. When I'm looking at a place, I'm like, yeah, I want to go on vacation here. But so it's kind of like mixed. So the thing that I like the most here as a Rwandan is the fact that I'm really amongst Rwandan. Like I said, all black everything, black stores, black people, black products. I don't, I love that. And being here as diaspora, it it's I love the fact that I can, like, I know the things that for example, we we miss, like the sun in Europe, for example. It's so abundantly here. um so, and I can feel those two worlds, and I know to put things into perspective. If I find things like too expensive, like, no, they're not that expensive, because in Amsterdam I'll pay for that. And then lastly, as a tourist, the best thing, I guess, that I like here is that Rwanda is still one of those countries that still likes foreigners. They are very nice to foreigners. They are very welcoming to foreigners, and I can tell you, it's this trend that I'm not seeing happening in many other countries, because they are still kind of like new in a way to foreigners. So, um, really talking to many people who come visit Rwanda, is that they say, if it's not the second, it's usually the first thing that they like about Rwanda also, is that how welcoming people are, how nice they are, and it's generally well meant, and they are, like, in our Rwandan culture, we are very nice to we are good with hospitality, taking care of guests. So the tourists here are getting that kind of treatment, and they are loving it, and I love it too, because I know if I invite people here, they will have that experience. I will treat them like that, but if they go somewhere else, they'll get the same treatment. So as a tourist, I would say Rwanda is just one of those hidden gems that has not been overpopulated with tourists. Like, if you ever gone to, like, one of those, like, top tourist destinations, like Rome, or like in Spain, at the beaches, or you just go to a place where it's all touristic, and there's no culture, no local people there, and you just feel like, you didn't really travel. But when you come to Rwanda, you will be amongst the Rwandan people. You will feel the culture. You will taste the food. You will feel the atmosphere. So, yeah, I would say that is the thing that I like the most about Rwanda as a tourist. Wait.
You've made my job. You have made my job easier by doing that sort of little the promotion. So, Theo, thank you. It's been a pleasure to have you. Unfortunately, the video I had to play did not have a sound. I don't know if there's any last word you would like to share before we end this.
No. I'm like, yeah, I know how you started your business as an Eheza. I know it's struggling starting a tourist company at the beginning of a pandemic. It's not easy, but I would say keep going, man. Keep working at it. Um, yeah, you do great.
No, thank you. Same for you, as we say, to the kumne, and hopefully we will chat again. And also to the viewers, they can go follow you at the Theo is back. And there will be great
Yes,
content on Rwanda, on travel, and I also believe that you are doing the consultation
yes.
for people who want to come and start. Why don't you just throw some lines about that?
Yeah, basically for anyone who's wanting to start a business or move to Rwanda, I'm helping already lots of people who wanna, who need some inside information, and yeah, they can always contact me on any of my social media channels, on Instagram or Facebook or email. I can, and then we can always talk. Yeah.
All right, but where, how do we find those channels? I mean, is it all Theo is back, or is it something else? What are they searching?
Yes, it's always like Theo's back on YouTube. On Instagram is also Theo's back, and email is theoisback@hotmail.com, I believe. Yeah, and Facebook is, it's my full name, Teofil Mutesa. That's like the only difference. But yeah, if you can just, like, I'm everywhere basically. Even if you would like leave a comment on my YouTube video, I'll probably read it, and we'll take it from there.
Absolutely. So thank you. It's been a pleasure having you. We are gonna wrap it up, and you have a nice evening in Kigali, and good luck for this week. Enjoy the
Yes.
freedom. Murakoze.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, everyone. So we wrap it up. Thank you for watching us until the end. You know what to do. Subscribe, hit the like button, keep following us. We will be having another live um, very, very, very soon. Thank you and have a good night. Have a good day. Have a blessed day. Thank you.